welcome everyone to Legally Blissed Conversations podcast today, and a very special welcome to my friend, Neidy Hornsby. Neidy is a wife, homeschooling mom of 3, and founder and CEO of Noir IP. Noir IP is a business and trademark law firm unapologetically focused on helping female founders safeguard, leverage, and monetize their intellectual property. So welcome, Neidy. I'm so happy to have you with me today.
Thank you. You make that sound so cool. Thank you.
Cool. It is cool.
You make it sound super cool. So thank you for the intro. Thank you for having me. I am so excited to chat with you.
Yeah. So let's talk about Neidy and Neidy's journey. You've had quite the journey. One of the questions that I asked kind of on intake, you had said your answer was that life, one's path is never linear, and that's something that actually worked in your favor. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think that, with everyone, there's always like this vision that you have of your life, and there's always this master plan that you are going to execute to the T, and then life happens, right? And I think that, like everyone else, especially women, I had this plan of like, okay, I'm going to go to undergrad, and I'm going to graduate, I'm going to go to law school, I'm going to graduate, I'm going to pass the bar, then I'm going to go to a firm, I'm going to be an associate, I'm going to be a partner. And because that is the route, right? And life looked nothing like that. It was, I'm going to go here, but then I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go forward. So it was not linear at all. It was not the plan that I thought was the life plan. Was not, and that's just because things happen in life. Like I got married, I had kids, my perspective and my values changed. So the path was not linear, but as messy as it was perfect for me, because I think that finally I'm living in my purpose, and I'm living according to my values. And for me, in order to do that, the linear path that I thought was the way just wasn't the route.
Just wasn't the route. So you're living in your purpose right now. What does that mean to you? And what does that look like?
It means that I am able to show up in all of these different and competing roles as a wife, as a mother, as managing attorney of the firm. I am able to show up in all these roles, which, by the way, compete with each other for time and mental space. But I'm able to show up in all of them as my whole self. And it is because I have created not just boundaries with the outside world, but boundaries within myself. So living on purpose, right, means that I no longer, one of the most intimidating things for me to do was to go to any type of networking event with fellow attorneys, because to say that, oh, I'm not at a firm, right? Or, I'm not on partner track, or I homeschool my kids. There's always like this blank stare, like, I understand the words, but not in that order. It's just like there's such a puzzled look. So it was always very intimidating, because I always felt like I didn't belong in the club. But now, living in my purpose is, it's okay to be outside of the club, because that's where my joy is. Mm-hmm. So living on purpose is not, oh, I got the firm that I wanted and I'm my own boss. That's the cherry on top, right? But it's being able to go to sleep every night knowing that I'm not compromising what matters to me.
One thing that I know that's really important to you, Neidy, is your homeschooling of your children. And when you told me that you did this, when the first time we'd ever talked, I probably had a look on my face like, whoa, I mean, I'm impressed. Like, let's just,
right.
Let's put it out there. I'm impressed. So tell me a little bit about how that looks on a daily basis, and kind of how you work that in with being the founder and CEO of your own law firm.
So it's messy. If there's like, I think that's the most accurate way to describe it. It can take its toll, but we've managed a system like law school, right? Law school was the most intimidating thing that we've all probably encountered our first semester. And then we realized there's a system. I just have to put in the time. And the time may be, 9 to 5 or 9 to 10, whatever the case may be. And similar to that, it was the same approach. I realized that, okay, I want to homeschool, and these are the hours that work for the children, which is, typical school hours. Well, that typical school hours are at odds with typical work hours, right? Like the 9 to 5 hustle. So I don't get to really work during those hours. So what do? I have to, start my day starts at 4:30, 4:45 in the morning, right? Wow. That's when I get my real work that requires focus and concentration. That's when that happens. And then by 9 o'clock, I am, take off that hat, put on the homeschooling mom hat, and I do that until like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And then I go back to work. So work gets done and homeschooling gets done. It's just not as pretty. It's not in this pretty package where it's like, oh, the kids are off to school from 8 to 3. They are. The school just happens to be, the bedroom down the hall. I think that when you want to live boldly, you can. You just have to also be strategic about it and create your system. So I think like everybody else who's doing something that may seem out of the ordinary, it's just finding that system that works.
Sure, and just making it happen.
You
mentioned that it can be messy at times. Messy can be perfect, right? And I feel like I've noticed myself kind of thinking this recently as I'm working on a project that, our striving for perfection in life is often, which female attorneys are often doing, is often an impediment to their purpose, or like actually living our purpose, what it really is, or actually getting things done. So just think we really need to be on to ourselves when we are striving for that perfection in life.
Yeah, I think that it's killing us, right? And for me, it showed up in I used to call it, I'm such a perfectionist. I wasn't a perfectionist. I was afraid, right? So, when I knew that it was time to leave corporate America, it was like, well, I need to find the perfect name for the firm, and I need to build the website, and then I need to have my social media ready, and I need to build my network, and it's not right, and it's not because I'm a perfectionist. Things have to be perfect. That wasn't true, though. I think that's the story that's like the pretty way of masking fear, because ultimately what kept me in corporate America longer than my heart's desired at that time was fear, right? Fear of failure, imposter syndrome, believing that I am not capable of doing this on my own. When I went to law school like every other attorney, I passed the bar like every other attorney. Why am I not able to do that? So for me, perfectionism was perfume on fear, right? Just and I finally realized that, the website is not perfect right now as I am speaking to you.
It won't be perfect in 10 years. Like you'll be, it's continually evolving. So
the way that we are continually evolving. So I think that society tells us that, there's this like perfect, social media tells us that there's just this perfect way of doing everything. And then we hold on to that out of fear of what it looks like for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love your social media, by the way.
Thank you.
I think that one thing that's fun about it is like you are on there and you are very real. So inapproachable.
Well, I don't know how not to be myself. And that took years of realizing that I am the best me that there's ever been, right? I tried to fit into certain groups only to realize like, no, you're not for everybody. I'm not for everyone. But that's okay too, okay. Right?
Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. I think that's a good point. I'm not for everybody. Another thing that you had said that there is so much joy on the other side of quote unquote normal.
Here.
Yeah. What is that like? What does that look like to you when you say those words?
So I became clear about my values when I became a mom, right? So up until that point, I was, pretending to be something that I'm not, and pretending to be happy in situations that weren't good for me was second nature, right? And then I became a mom and I realized like there's so much more for me, right? And I want to be really hands-on on this journey, and I want to be in control of, how I build, how I travel through this motherhood journey, right? But normal would be quote unquote would be no, focus on your billables, whatever the ridiculous number of billables was at that time, but like 65-hour weeks, like do that, and then everything else falls in where it can, wherever there's space. On the other side of that for me was no, that doesn't work for me. What I want to do is to be present in all of these other roles, and I want to build a profession for myself that is true to me, that brings me joy, but that doesn't rob me of all of these other things that are important to me and bring me joy. So normal is not going to law school, being, oh my God, so many thousands of dollars in debt and not doing the partner track, right? Like that's the normal route. To go around that isn't really, I don't have to tell you, you did, you know how it goes, what the expectations are. On the other side for me though was joy. On the other side of that for me was, I get to still practice law, and I get to practice law, in an area of the law that I truly enjoy. I get to work with really amazing clients that bring me joy and that fill my cup and that inspire me to be better. Because that's another thing, the area of law that I practice, I meet people at a very high point in their life, right? Like they decided to bet on themselves. They decided to
have
business.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not meeting people when they're facing prison time or they're dealing with child support issues. I'm meeting them when they are really excited to be alive. So there's so much that I get from that energy. And then I get to if you can't see where I'm at, but I'm actually in a she shed outside my house, which we converted into my office. So I get to come in here, do work that I love, and then go have lunch with my children.
Yeah.
That may not be normal, but that's the joy on the other side of normal for me.
Wow. So what kind of advice would you give to a young associate who desires something greater, right, than the corner office and the big firm, and they don't really foresee partnership roles for them, but they feel like they're kind of being honed into the typical, trajectory that you were talking about. They're thinking about that sunk cost, right? Like, oh, I invested in law school and I've been with this law firm for 8 years, partnership, whatever it is, right? Like, is there any piece of advice that you would give them to kind of, I don't know if I want to say like ease their pain or just make the right decision?
Yes, so I'll answer that, but first I'll say this. I have been around a lot of younger attorneys the past 2 years, and I gotta tell you, they're built differently. I wish that I had the courage and the clarity and the knowledge of self that these guys display, right? I don't know if the pandemic was what made a lot of people realize, like, no, I have to be true to myself. But I don't think the associates of today are the associates of our time, right?
Yeah,
they're very clear on what their expectations of life and of their working environment is. But, I will say that clarity of your value system is the only way to go, because we're not trashing the normal trajectory of being an attorney. I mean, there's so many women who are close that I'm close with who find true joy in those 60 hours a week. Like they find real meaning in that, and that's beautiful, right? But it's beautiful because they are very clear that that's what brings them joy. It's beautiful because they're very clear that that was the plan and that is still the plan. So, my advice would be really clear on what motivates you, what ignites you, what brings you joy, and don't be afraid if that doesn't look like what everybody else thinks it should look like. It probably won't, because we're all different people with different perspectives, so it probably won't. And following that inner voice, Oprah says that the universe speaks in whispers, and then it starts to get louder and louder until you're like in the hospital, right?
Right.
So listen to those whispers when you are not living according to your inner compass. But again, I say all of that to say, I don't think a lot of these young attorneys are suffering from that.
I love hearing that. I love hearing that, because I feel like with my generation, I don't know how many of us really sat down and got clear on our value systems. Like, I didn't do that at 28. I was pounding the pavement and working in a big law firm. And I felt like I was very much kind of in that rat race. It does make me happy to hear, though, that you think that the younger generation has more clarity around their values, and maybe they're like proactively thinking about this on a daily basis. And maybe the pandemic has changed that. Maybe it's just the newer generation.
I think it's a combination of both, right? I think that the pandemic was absolutely like a global awakening that, like, we always say life is short. Like, it's almost like we have no meaning behind the phrase. And then the pandemic was like, no. Like, life is really short. I mean, you are running from this thing that you can't see, right? That's terrifying. And it just brought into focus, like, I don't know how much time I have. And therefore, the time that I do have, I should be joyful. Right? I should be investing my time and my energy into things that bring me joy. And I don't know. I'm telling you, I feel like just the younger generation in general, attorneys, whatever profession, they're not only more clear about their vision, they're more confident in fighting for it. That makes sense. I think for me, I had to become a mom to have something that was powerful enough to pull me away from fear. Like, I don't know that had I not become a mom that I would be here. I think I would have still been in that rat race because that's all I've known, and it's comfortable. By the way, comfort. Let's talk about comfort. Right?
The rat race can be kind of comfortable, right?
It can be kind of comfortable. Listen, this whole eat what you kill life is not for everyone. I always tell my friends, I'm like, listen, some months I'm like throwing bills at the club, and then the next month is ramen noodles for like the first 2 weeks of the month. So there's a lot of comfort in that, security of the check every 2 weeks. So
absolutely.
I mean, so those are all the things to consider. Like, comfort could be one of the things that holds us back.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I say that comfort, can be one of the most dangerous things for us because it prevents us from progressing.
Right. I mean, you're comfortable. Why? And growth is painful.
Yeah.
You even think about like physical growth, like going to the gym, like it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
It's painful. And to stretch mentally and emotionally, to say, no, I am going to bet on myself. Oh my God. I've been on my own since 2016 and I still feel like, should I get a job?
Right. You're kind of always second guessing yourself, right?
Always.
So, okay. You've been on your own for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2022. I'm calculating here. If you could give any guidance for the attorney that just hung out their shingle, brand new on their own, do you have any little nuggets? Like, because it can be really exciting, right? And then all of a sudden it kind of hits you that, oh man, I'm wearing a lot of different hats here. And you kind of have to get comfortable, right, with not being just a lawyer, but being an entrepreneur. So maybe two questions here. For that person who has made that decision, what piece of advice would you give them? And if someone is kind of making that decision, oh, should I leave the big firm, the comfort of the check, right, to maybe pursue my passion? Is there any like little pieces of wisdom that you could throw in there for helping them with that calculus, right? Like trying to decide what to do.
Right. So for your first question, if assuming that they have, taken that leap, I say that the first thing I think you should do is to find a network of like-minded people. I think entrepreneurship can be really lonely, especially in the beginning when all of your friends and your associates are folks that don't relate to that decision because they're very much still within the corporate America structure. So I think one of my, safe havens has been that I have a really strong network of fellow entrepreneurs, right? Who understand the difficulty of where is my next client coming from. So I don't feel alone or like I'm operating in a vacuum when things are rough, because like everything, it's going to be rough in the beginning and it's gonna, it's ebbs and flows. So I think just building a community or finding a community to plug into of people who are doing, whether it's, attorneys or just other professionals who are entrepreneurs, they understand the struggle is number one. I think that is so key, because being in your head is really, really scary. I think being in your head will automatically just lead to you believing that you are not capable, which you are. So that network is important. But then on a more practical note, which I did not discover until like years after leaving, is figuring out how to automate things that you do, right? There's so many tools, right? Because when you're on your own, you're the attorney, you're the receptionist, you're the paralegal. Depending on your practice, you're figuring out what you can automate.
So key.
Really, you're buying back your time by investing in whatever software, whatever tools you need to buy back your time, right? And the reason why I mentioned that, it may not seem very substantive, like you were probably looking for a much deeper answer, but I think that whatever you can do to ease that transition, especially when you're leaving a firm where, there's a mail room and there's like, you can make your copies for free and there's a cafeteria, like the comforts of that setting. To ease that transition, one, find a network of like-minded people. Two, figure out how to automate the things that you do every day, just to ease the pain and help you to focus on what you can't automate, just like your business development strategies. In that regard.
What's been your favorite automation tool or like tech tool that you've encountered?
So I have a couple, as you know, because of what I practice. Alt Legal has been amazing.
Trademark.
I love it. I love Clio to just remain organized with client matters. I haven't even tapped into all of what Clio does, and I have so many things set up already. Calendly, like I don't touch my calendar at all. I mean, Calendly to me is like heaven sent, right? Like the link is on my bio on IG. It automatically connects to something. I mean, you use it, right? It connects to Zoom, and all of a sudden I see a consultation paid for pop up on my calendar. Zoom link sent, reminder sent. I don't do anything with that appointment until I literally show up for the appointment. Right. So I'm trying to. I know that I have other. I can't think of any right now, but just those three have complete. Hello Sign, which is another like DocuSign thing. So I have all of these tools already set up that buy me so much time. And if you use technology strategically, I mean, so much of what like an assistant would do, you can do through automation. So I think that is a really great way to minimize the pain of launching and being on your own and giving you time to focus on the things that you have to do, which is practice the law.
Sure.
and the business development side.
Yeah. Which like you said is very difficult to automate that part, right?
You can't, I mean, if you know how to do that, you know, but even like these, a Hootsuite, to automate your social media, because you have to be on social media, especially when you are building the firm, right? But it can be so exhausting to be on Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, Pinterest, Facebook. Like, I mean, there's so many, but here's this tool where you can batch content, schedule everything out, and like you want yourself so much time because you can schedule out weeks in advance. These are all little things that help you keep your sanity, right? And it's not like an either or proposition. It's not like, oh, okay, I'm on my own, therefore I have to let go of my social media. No, you can do it all. You just have to invest in these tools and put the time in to create these systems.
Networking. And then I think you said another word in there I think is really important too. So we'll just do like a 3 is batching, because batching, like chunking your time batching. So like you work on your social media on Wednesday morning, right? Yep. You work on your administrative stuff every 2 weeks for 2 hours, like however you block that time. I think that doing that and being really mindful about how I go up, like set my schedule, my Calendly, has been really key for me for maintaining sanity. I mean, just kind of what you were saying. And I'm like you, I'm very, very attached to using Calendly and scheduling, and you know, it makes it so much easier. And when you introduce people to these tools, their minds are kind of blown, because sometimes they don't know what they're missing out on until they actually start using the tool, and they see how it really improves their efficiencies.
You know, to add to that with the whole batching thing, one of the things that has been great for me is that I have a CEO day, right? And that's Friday. All I do is work on the business, right? We as entrepreneurs spend so much time working like in the business, which is like the deliverables, which is so important because that's how we keep the lights on, right? But then we neglect working on the business, going through the account, sitting down and looking at your cash flow and figuring out like what's working, what's not. So on Fridays, that's like operations day. And it has to deal with the firm, not with our deliverables. So being strategic with your time. So like you said, batching is usually used in the context of social media, but no, like, intakes. Okay, so I'm going to review all the new intakes, for 2 hours on Wednesday, and I'll do just that, those 2 hours, right? And then I'll do another set of deliverables on another day. So batching the work by classes has been very helpful for me too.
Yeah, I think it kind of along that line, Neidy, too, that has something that's helped me is kind of when I'm doing my email triage, I star things depending on kind of what they're related to, right? If it's a client needing me to respond to them, it might be a yellow star. If it's something related to an administrative, if it's a bill or a question about billing or something like that, I'll put like a green star.
Yeah.
If it's business development related, I'll put a blue star by it. So I'll know that when I go in and I sit down and I'm working on that, I can focus on business development, right? And accessing those emails in relation to that. For me, if I have my business development hat on, I don't want to be over here worrying about like paying CompuMark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right? Like, because my mindset is focused on something very different. Now, people attack their emails in different ways, but that's one thing that's really helped me. And also when I access emails, I'm not perfect at this by any means. It's something I'm practicing all the time. But when I open an email, I try to make a promise to myself that I'm going to address it immediately or docket it if it's a task, right? If it's something related to a client, or delete it. It doesn't always work that way, because every now and then I do get tempted with a certain email and I'm like, I got to see what they're saying, right? And I don't immediately dispose of it. But I think that we spend a lot of time unnecessarily fiddling around in our inbox. And again, the progress.
So Susie, I have to say something about that, about you specifically. So one area that I continue to struggle is emails. I have not mastered emails. I find myself in my inbox a ridiculous amount of like hours throughout the day. I'm tempted to read every email. I'm tempted to answer immediately. I fail at it. I'm like, I am just not good at email. I literally say that. I live in my inbox. I reply immediately. I tell myself every Sunday, this week, we are not replying to emails immediately. We are going to like respond within 24 hours. It has not happened. It has not happened in 6 years. But I'm saying that because I'll say it again this Sunday. This will be the week that I control and I manage.
Inbox zero.
But I see that because you are so impressive with emails. Like, remember that email? I emailed you once and I get this automatic email that it's like, it outlines your boundaries very good. I took a screenshot of that. I have to tell you, I took a screenshot of that and I sent it to like several of my lawyer friends. I'm like, this is the goal. Like being this clear. No, I'm like so serious. Like I was like, guys, this is the goal. Being this clear about your time and about your boundaries. Like I don't have the email anymore, but it was so beautiful. It was like, hey, thank you for this email. I will get to it, but here's my boundary line, right? And I was like, when I get to this point, I will feel like I made it. Do you have that? I really feel like you should just like read a part of it because it's such a great automatic email.
Yeah, it is just an automated email that I have set up in my law firm, hicksonlaw.com. And just briefly, I say, thank you for your email. Oh, do we just read it? I think I'll just read it. But in the meantime, I do want to mention something that I think is really important, Neidy, is controlling your inbox and being kind of proactive with it, right? Like, and setting boundaries around email. Yeah. I'm a big fan of setting boundaries and also speaking of another tool that I really like, it's called Boomerang. And you can integrate it into your email. And some email platforms probably already have this, but I proactively schedule when I might send an email out. So for example, like let's say that I kind of cheat and I do take a look at an email from a client, right? I'm like, oh, I opened the email, but they literally just sent it 5 minutes ago. And if I respond immediately, they're going to, from now on, they're going to expect those emails from me every boom, boom, boom. But that's not how I roll. So I use Boomerang to set the email to maybe go out my response to go out the next morning. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of helps tailor the expectations with people that you work with. So they aren't always expecting an immediate response. I remember back in the olden days, and I was with a big law firm, I would set emails out to go out on the weekend, right? Or late at night. And it's so different now because I'm like, no. I am not working at 8:00 at night. This is not Saturday night and I'm working. So if I do peak and I'm trying to make that promise to myself, I am going to just, address this email. I might set up Boomerang for the email to go out on Monday morning. Right. Okay. So that client isn't like, oh, she's like checking her email all weekend. Like, I don't
like me. I don't know why I cannot master that. I feel like I really want to be intentional because that's the final frontier for me. Yeah. So managing my inbox.
So let me tell you, I mean, not everyone is there yet, right? And that's okay. Like just because I have an autoresponder set up that kind of tailors, kind of that creates that expectations with people doesn't mean that everyone is ready for it. And I go back and forth on it. Like I've had primarily good responses from it. I think probably the only like negative responses that maybe I've had would be from other lawyers, but I I'm not really worried about them, right? I'm worried about.
Of course, it was the lawyers.
Yeah, right. But I was thinking I would never get away with setting this email up, but this is what it says. It says, hello there. Thank you for emailing me. Your email is important to me. I only check email periodically and respond accordingly. In other words, in italicized, I am not tied to my inbox. My goal is to spend more time focusing on substantive work and outcomes for my clients, whether I'm providing legal guidance or consulting lawyers and professionals. And there I have 2 links that go out so that depending on kind of like why you're emailing me, you can learn a little more about me. I say that email is a distraction that ultimately creates longer response times and workflows, which is true. I respond to emails in a timely manner. That said, if your matter is truly urgent, like it cannot wait a week, or there is blood involved, and I literally say that as well, because we can't take this stuff too seriously, right? Please respond to this email with urgent in the subject line. Thank you for understanding my mood to increase efficiency. It helps me accomplish more to serve people better. And here's to living outside of your inbox. And so if anyone wants this, and they can
I love it.
Just so email me, SUZI at Hickson Law, HIXON.
I love it.
Copy it. I mean, and here's the thing, Neidy, you may be ready to use it. You could give it a try. You might be like, I'm just gonna set this aside and give it some thought, kind of craft it however you want to. The other thing that could be helpful for people would be where they can have like common questions, like go ahead and proactively answer some common questions, right? Like maybe, because you can set up these, what this is basically a signature. Like it kind of reminds me of a signature, right? Because it's, or you could put common questions in one of your email signatures. You could direct people where you think they might be better served by going directly to your website. Or, hey, my rate is $300 an hour, and here's my calendar if you want to schedule a 30-minute consultation with me or whatever, or something like that. I don't know, people kind of go back and forth. I go back and forth on like whether or not I publish my rates and all of that. But if you could go ahead and get them on your calendar for a call, I think that would be great. Right?
What I love the most about that email is that you still leave room for that urgent matter, right? So if it's urgent, yes, please do reply with urgent, the subject line. So it's not like you're saying, hey, I'm off limits for a week. You're saying, no, if it's urgent, I'm here. But if it's not, then allow me to be efficient with my time, which is, just benefits all involved. I think it's brilliant.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Please try it out yourself and see what kind of response you get to it. So,
absolutely.
And here's the other thing too, Neidy, is that when you do things like this, it's a way to kind of vet prospective clients that may not work with you, may not be ideal for you. And that's something I preach pretty hard is, as you become more comfortable in your own practice and you do start developing your own client base, you can and should, for your own sanity, be particular and vet the people that you work with. I mean, it's a huge, it's a huge thing to be very mindful about.
It's so huge, and it makes me think of paid consultations, which is going back to your question about what are the things that you should be thinking about when you first leave to launch your firm. I used to say I used to practice door law, which was whoever walked through the door able to pay. That's the type of law that's the type of law that I practiced in the beginning.
Sure.
But here's the thing. So in that vein, I never charged for consultations, but what would happen? My calendar would be filled up super quick, and then half of them wouldn't show up, wouldn't cancel, because unfortunately there's no value to them. There's nothing lost. So I found myself being resentful of the process, being resentful of the person who wouldn't respect me enough to just send me an email 24 hours before to cancel. It's just like constant no-shows. Then I start charging for consultations, and all of a sudden I have everyone shows up. I never have a no-show, and when I do have a no-show, it's like there's a proper cancellation process. I get an email that says, hey, whatever the reason may be, can we reschedule? There's a it's almost like you're forcing them to respect your time because you've now charged for this consultation. So I found myself, not being resentful because people were unfortunately respecting my time because they had to pay. That's a very scary decision in the beginning because of course you just want to take in whatever comes in, right? I think paid consultations are a really easy way to vet potential clients. If someone's not willing to, and by the way, it could be $50, just something that they're going to keep their appointment. Just makes you feel better about what you're doing because people are being respectful of your time. And if they're not willing to pay that, then they may not be the client that you want anyway.
Exactly, Neidy. If they are not up to pay that initial consultation fee, then they very well may not be up to paying your
bill. Yeah.
They're going to be a tire kicker. And here's the thing, if anyone's feeling resistance to doing this, what helped me initially when I started charging for consultations is you can always kind of have exceptions, right? A great client that sends you a referral. Yeah, I'll speak with Sally, whatever. But what you can do, and this is what eased me into it, was saying, hey, my initial consultation is $200, but if we decide to work together, that $200 will go towards, your initial bill, right? So it's kind of like their earnest money that they're putting up towards a relationship.
So that's exactly what I do. I credit that fee towards services. If a client sends someone my way, I waive the consultation fee. So it's not like fixed in stone. Like there are exceptions, but for the most part, especially on my public facing calendar links, like on Instagram, on the website, it just helps to vet, your time is valuable.
Oh yeah.
And you certainly don't want someone on the calendar who doesn't care enough to at least give you proper notice of a cancellation. That's a big one. And it's a big one because it took me forever to be bold enough to, ask for paid consultations, and it's made a world of difference.
Okay. So I think one of the themes here, Neidy, is to be bold in your practice, right? Especially
get out of your own way.
Yeah, especially for those of you who are, maybe thinking about leaving a law firm or you started your own practice. Be bold. Try sending autoresponder emails that define your boundaries proactively.
Right.
Charge for those initial consultations. You're going to be a lot happier with your ultimate client base, and the clients are out there. Provide them amazing service.
Out there. I know that that's really hard to believe in the beginning, but they're out there, and there's enough for all of us. The scarcity mentality. I get so much work from fellow attorneys. The work is out there. There are people cheering for you and willing to help. It's scary, but you're not alone.
No, you're not. And I think you made a great point earlier about networking with other entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And I know that you meant kind of in general, but I also think that if you are a boutique practice, or even a solo attorney, find people who are similarly situated. They can be really great referrals too. So, mm-hmm. And even in your practice area, right? Because our work ebbs and flows. Sometimes we get overloaded and we need to reach out to other trademark attorneys or, people in our practice area. Sometimes things get a little quiet. So it kind of ebbs and flows for everyone. Neidy, let me ask you, okay, so what is next for Noir IP? I'm curious kind of where you see, what your vision is of your law firm.
Oh, wow. What is next for Noir IP? I would love to grow to the point that we can bring on another female attorney. I think that would be amazing. We're definitely growing in that direction. I don't know when that will happen, but so right now we're a team of 4. We're an all-female team, which I absolutely love. But I'm the only attorney. So I think that the next goal is to be able to grow in order to justify bringing in another attorney. My goal is for Noir IP to be the go-to trademark law firm for female founders. and being able to service the clients by having another attorney would be amazing. I think that that's the next milestone for us. And just continue to, provide quality service. We've been very blessed that we don't advertise, right? We don't pay for ad dollars. All of our clients, 100% are word of mouth recommendations from past clients. I think that that's because we're very, thank you, because we're very focused on our delivery of services. We try to really be a true partner to our clients, which in turn means that they become champions for the firm. I don't want to lose that. So I'm also very mindful of growth, right? I don't want to scale to the point that touch is lost. I should probably not live in my inbox, but I just don't want to grow to the point that it's just, clients don't feel like they are connecting with me.
Right.
But I do want to grow to the point to justify at least another attorney. So that is the goal. That's the next milestone.
Okay, I know it's going to happen. And I absolutely love your law firm's mission statement. I'm going to read it again because I did the thing, but it says that you're a business and trademark firm unapologetically focused on helping female founders safeguard, leverage, and monetize their intellectual property. Like that says so much and such a beautifully condensed mission.
Thank you.
I think that's just a beautiful statement. So where can people find you?
So we're on all social media, but we're active on Instagram at Guard Your Genius, and our website is Noir, NOIRIP.com. But Instagram is just a very easy way to find us. Our DMs, we answer our DMs, so we can always start a conversation on Instagram.
Awesome. Neidy, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Oh, Susie, thank you. This was so much fun. So thank you.
I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye, friend.